Our journey has been long, fulfilling and rewarding. Established in the year 28, our story began to guide and support the students for their study abroad journey. We've helped students in every step for their overseas education, right from handpicking the study destinations, choosing the right course, selecting a university, visa guidance, scholarship info, and more. May 28 marked a whole new beginning. Our first office opened in Melbourne, followed by 3 new offices in Nepal in the year 2011, 2015 and 2016 respectively. By the year 2012, we started helping the onshore students in Sydney and Brisbane. And in no time, we expanded into Southern Europe. We started providing our counseling services in Southeast Asian countries like the Philippines, Thailand, Singapore, Indonesia, and even Malaysia. In the year 2020, we moved to Vietnam, Bangladesh, and Sri Lanka to assist students there. Now, coming to India, where we have extended our roots intensively. Our first offices opened in Ahmedabad, Hyderabad, and Vijayawada in January 2015. And other locations like Ludhiana, New Delhi, Bangalore, Chandigarh, Jalandhar, Vadodara, Gurgaon, Vizag, Kochi, Chennai, and finally Surat. To keep up with the growing demand, we opened an innovation hub in Chennai in 2019 to help improve your overall experience with AECC Global. We have helped thousands of students to achieve their goals, and we can't wait to create more success stories with you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining in today. Welcome to the AECC Global Panel discussion with the Canadian institutions. And we'll be talking in detail about the way forward the students can look at joining the September 21 session and the upcoming intakes at the Canadian institutions. My name is Sonu Latwal, and I'm the Assistant Manager for Client Relations and Training at AECC Global. Along with me, I have Ms. Kanchan Arora. She is the Heads of Operation for our Punjab region. Along with that, we have our panelists. First of all, a very warm welcome to all our panelists from the Canadian institutions. So I would like to welcome Ms. Garima Naran. She is the Senior Recruitment Advisor for India at Lakehead University. Along with that, we have Mr. Zishan. So Zishan Kamal, he is the South Asia representative for Durham College. And along with these two, we have Mr. Rohan Rawat. So Rohan takes care of Georgian College and represents the South Asia for Georgian College. Unfortunately, we had another panelist, but due to some family emergency, he will not be able to join in today. His name is Mr. Pranav Rati, and he takes care of the South Asia region for Fanshawe College. So a warm welcome to all our panelists for the evening. Before we go ahead with the session today, I would like to mention the students from a couple of prestigious institutions of India who have joined in for this session today. So students from Nirma University, Ahmedabad, JPR Engineering College, Chennai, Caramal College, Kochi, and RV College, Bangalore. A warm welcome to all of you, along with all the other students. Kanchan, would you like to take ahead with the house rules for the event?
Sure. Thank you so much, Sonu, for initiating the session. And thank you, everyone, for joining us on this Thursday evening. And I would like to say thanks to all the panelists who agreed to be with us today evening. So I'm sure that all of the students who have joined us for this session today will be benefited out of all the information our panelists are going to share with all of us. So before we start having our questions to our panelists, I would like to explain some housekeeping rules. So first of all, it's only the speakers who can talk. So everybody else is on mute. So if you have any questions at any point of time, I would encourage everybody to write their questions in question answer box. And my colleagues from AECC Global will be definitely replying to all the queries simultaneously. And of course, we'll pick few common queries towards the end of the session from our panelists to answer towards the end of the session. So other than that, I would also say that please do not share your contact details or email IDs or phone numbers on this platform. If you have any specific queries regarding if there are any already applied applicants who are on this session with us today, please contact your counselors directly, or maybe you can connect with us through the virtual office. We'll be sharing the virtual office links from time to time during the session. And last but not the least, we are going to share some polls during the session. So I would encourage everybody to participate in those polls so that we can have that data to help you further. So I think it's time to start now. So the major key takeaways why we have conducted this session. So we all know that when a student is in the final phase of education here in India, maybe they are the pursuing student in class 12th, or maybe they are towards the end of their graduation, they start thinking about what exactly they need to do next. It could be the further education here in India, it could be further education outside India, or maybe they are preparing for their jobs and all. So once those who are thinking about planning about further education outside India, we all know that Canada is a major market, or a very I would say important destination a student think about. So that is why we decided to have this session. We all know that we are going through some difficult times these days, and there is a lot of confusion all over. So that is why we decided to have this session, so that we can reply to all your queries and confusions. So this is one. Other than that, we all know that since last year when COVID started, Canadian government made few changes. So we wanted to inform you all about those recent changes and updates. And of course, other than that, we are also going to talk about the prominent careers and the programs which are demand for the students who are planning to study further in Canada. So I think I should start now. And these days, everybody is going through a similar kind of situation across the world, and that situation is troubling everybody. So India definitely is not in a better situation than last year, but by God's grace, Canada is in much better position. So I would like to know the facts and the figures, what exactly is the current situation of COVID in Canada. And I think I would request Rohan to reply to this one.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, AECC, for putting up this session. I'm sure there will be a lot of takeaways from the session. And yes, so we'll just begin and to talk more about on Canada. As you already know, the number of cases is not as high as in India. So the India was already improving, and the cases have suddenly started to drop. And it's a good situation in Canada. There is no huge problem. And the best part, especially for the international student, though there is a flight ban which was imposed recently, but many students have reached Canada via Dubai, and students are still going through Ethiopia or Sri Lanka. So the best part is that they have the quarantine plan in place. So they are making sure, and especially all the community colleges and the university in Canada, we are making sure that we are giving the quarantine support to the student, so that when they come to the second country, they are not just coming to a second country, they're just coming to their second home. Because we are monitoring the quarantine, we are doing regular Instagram session. We are making sure that before the student fly to Canada, they are aware about the quarantine rules and regulation. They should understand, and we have also made some YouTube video so that they really understand the importance of quarantine when they reach Canada. And I also get a lot of question by the parents, because as rightly said by you, there is a very different situation all over the world. So they keep asking that, is it better to be in India rather than going to, travel to Canada and do the program? But I have got a very good feedback from the student, because there is, first of all, it's a very less populated and more structured, and people are following rules, social distancing. And same way, I really appreciate the way Indian student are doing their quarantine in a proper manner, so to avoid any problems or COVID cases. So I think the Canada is well prepared, especially with all the quarantine plans. So they have to be in touch with the respective international team of the office to start with the quarantine plan. And once the travel ban is uplifted, I'm sure a lot of more students will start traveling to Canada.
Okay. Thank you so much, Rohan, for this information. So Garima, if you could add on something about it, that what exactly the Canadian government has done in terms to support people in public, people in general, and especially the international students. What exactly, how exactly did they initiate, and what measures they have taken to support international students?
Totally, Kanchan. Thank you so much for that question. I think Canada has always been very, very open and clear as to what they do for international students as well as for their own public. In fact, ever since the outbreak, came last year, Canada created a lot of awareness programs, launched even a national public education campaign to educate their people. They are working at all levels of government to be ready to deliver safe and effective vaccines to everyone who wants it. They're also supporting all provinces and territories in responding to COVID-19. Besides that, Canada has also been working closely with individuals, families, business, and sectors by setting up, a lot of recovery benefits, insurance and sickness plans to help, all section of societies. Another thing they have done, especially for the public, especially for the students, local students, is to waive off the interest on education loan, which is a big thing. So that's talking about for their own self, for their own people. But what exactly are they doing for international students? As we understand that international students bring so much to the country, and in fact, they're contributing more than $12 billion to their economy and supporting various sections of societies. We also understand the pandemic has presented a lot of challenges for international students, but IRCC has always been very mindful and supportive of the fact what they want to do for international students. As everybody been listening, reading on various websites, the latest one with respect to international student is supporting international student by making changes, making temporary changes in the study permit program. So which means this is a big thing for international students. That means students who are studying online outside Canada or studies completed outside Canada will count towards a future postgraduate work permit. Even in fact, last year also, they have lifted the ban for international students to work for more than 20 hours while they were in class in certain sectors. So that way, I think Canadian government, Ministry of IRCC has always been supportive of the fact as they understand that international student, contributes to their economy largely. Yeah.
Thanks, Garima. Thank you so much. So Sonu, if okay, we have this poll. So students, if you could participate in this poll simultaneously.
Yes, so we have certain student, we have put in some questions in the poll. So please feel free to answer the polls as well while we move ahead with the session. So this is, again, I think a very important question, moving forward. So we have seen recent changes throughout since last year. Due to this COVID pandemic, the institutions moved toward the online learning method. So I think this question is relevant to all the institutions, and I would like to start with Zishan. So Zishan, what sort of study methods the colleges have taken, and what is the future? What do you think, like this coming intake will be blended, or what sort of will it be a face-to-face delivery of classes?
Thank you, Sonu. Thank you, ACC, for bringing us today here to answer your questions and doubts about what's going to happen in Canada. How are the colleges going to start the classes? So the delivery of the program has been divided into three categories. The first one definitely being remote, because it is difficult for students to fly right now because of the travel ban. They can start so most of the programs, it's about 60 to 70% of the programs are happening remote for the first semester, which means they can study from their homes, from their countries, and in-person presence is not required. It does not affect the postgraduate work permit. It would not affect their later on applications for various permanent residency or other things. The other delivery method is hybrid, where students are required to be on campus for hands-on activities for the program to be completed. These would be programs in the field of science, engineering, technology, healthcare, and a few. So they need to have a visa to fly to Canada to do the programs. And another method is the flexible method. Professors, teachers, some classes or workshops from DC will have the choice of attending in person or on campus in the classroom or lab, or attending class remotely. So let's say if somebody is able to get to Canada, they can do it from the class or do it remotely from Canada. That's the flexible method. And also they will have the work integrated learning. For the work integrated learning, which is your co-op or placements or apprenticeship, and for that also you will have to be in Canada. So mostly, if you see, most of these programs are happening remotely for the first semester, which means till 31st December, you can study from your home, and waiting for more updates from the IRCC and the government of Canada as to how the country opens for more students coming in the future for January 22 and onwards. So yeah, you can start remote. Postgraduate work permit is not affected. Some programs will have hybrid, some of them will be flexible. So it's a combination of both to make sure that it's safe for the student, safe for people there in Canada, and things can carry on the way they should, and it should not affect the student in any manner.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that, Zishan. Anything you would like to add, Rohan, to what Zishan said?
So we are, because we both are the community college, so we are all, same, that we also offer in the 3 categories. So mostly the student who might be thinking, about reaching to the Canada are only the student whose program is in person. So especially for Georgian College, we have already updated our website for the September intake that it's happening remote, and which are the program are offered remotely, and which are the program which will require a student to be available in Canada in person to do the program. So one quick thing I can share with students, that if they are looking specifically for September intake, especially for the lab-based program, they can see before applying that whether that particular program can be delivered for the first semester remotely or not. So it's happening remotely, at least they will not be worried that how I'm going to reach Canada on time in September, or will my classes will be impacted. So I think with the ACC team, when the student is talking to the counselor, they can go to the website and check right now itself whether the program is remote or in person. Though it is not a guarantee that in September student will not be able to travel, but just to be on the safer side, they can they have the information already updated on the website. So before they apply, they can see whether the first semester is remote or in person.
Yeah, I'd just like to add something to it. So even if the program is remote, like most of the institutes here present today are approved DLIs that have been allowed to welcome international students to Canada. So even if the program is remote and you do have a student visa to fly to Canada, you can still do the program from Canada remotely for your first semester if the program says so. And if the travel restrictions are removed, like I said, you can fly to Canada and still do the program remotely if it is hybrid, do in-person classes and a bit of remote. That's how it will go on, just to make sure that nobody's affected by the COVID, and they're trying to minimize the effect on students as well as people staying there. And all of us would have the updates on our websites on how the program delivery is going to happen for all of the programs. So if you have a program, you can check on the website, just type in the name of the program and they'll tell you how the first semester is going to be delivered. So I think that's a very good initiative from the colleges and the universities that have been approved to welcome. They presented a plan and they've been approved to welcome students. So that the students don't need to worry. If they have a visa, they fly, they can do it remote, they can do it hybrid, depending on what's the delivery method of the program.
Right. Though, thank you so much for that.
Can I say something on behalf of
Sure.
Lakehead?
Garima, I was coming on to you. Yeah.
Sure, thank you. See, Lakehead is absolutely planning for a return to primarily in-person learning starting in September 21. including field placement, internships, and practical exposure also. As rightly said by my fellow colleagues, that every institution is looking at all the three models, and Lakehead is also going to follow the same. In addition to that, our faculty and staff are working really hard to plan and prepare for the arrival of all students to all our campuses. I would like to say that few of our programs are still open. So if there are any undergraduate students looking to apply for fall 21, we are accepting applications. Although graduate programs have been closed, but they could look at applying for the upcoming fall intake. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for adding that, Garima. So just moving forward, the next question, as you know, the students are more keen to know more about the practical, education. And one of the prime reasons why students choose overseas education is they want to take more sort of practical education, which is, I would say more prominent in countries like Canada or some other countries. So what is the call on these programs? So how do you think the students will be able to cope up wherein, while they are studying online? Garima, would you like to
I can
take
answer.
that?
Okay, whoever.
Yeah, sure. No worries, Ishan. You can go ahead with that.
Okay. So mostly you'll see that these programs that have a lot of labs and are technology-based programs, they are hybrid, and the in-person presence is required for students to come and attend the class, part of the program remotely, and part of it practicals, and minimum amount of students in the labs. They'll have to be there in Canada to start the program. We don't want them to miss on the labs, but some of them would also have a flexible model, which means some of these labs can be done from here, and some of them they'll have to be there in person in the class to do it. Most of these programs will be in person, so they will have to be there to do the programs. Otherwise, the rest of them are flexible or remote.
Right. I think Rohan can add on to this because
so we have the same policy
specifically
specifically looking at the medical program, like, because I could see any practical related program, because it's become very tough for a faculty, especially like culinary. You cannot teach culinary online. So those program that you can see right now also on the website, that it's in person. So it will be difficult for the student to do the program from the home country. So student need to be in Canada to do those program, which states that the first semester is in person, right? Though we are trying wherein we can get some module that can be taught online, but still it's in process. So I would still say that check the website before you apply. And if your semester says in person, so it could be a possibility that the student has already applied the visa before 15th, or they are already ready with everything and they are just about to file the visa, so that they have their visa result come by the August, and they can join the program physically in Canada.
Right. I think, yeah, because a lot of changes have been happening since last year. So colleges and institutions are still in process, and they are trying their best to help the students in every possible manner. So those kind of changes, we can see since last year. Yeah, continue.
So, Zishan and Rohan, I would ask one more thing here regarding the same question only, that in case that there are changes by the Canadian government about travel and everything. So, and if it doesn't happen, God forbid, if it doesn't happen, then are you going to change the start of these particular programs where they need to be in person? Like, what is going to be your policy in relation to these kind of programs, which are related to lab, or maybe for the student to be in there in person? So, Zishan, do you have any point of view on this?
Yeah, so some programs may have a delayed start by a week or 10 days, but not much, because these are labs and everything. And maybe the modules of the program have been designed now in such a manner that the labs have been delayed a bit, but they may not go much beyond 10 or 15 days from the actual start date. However, the other options for the student could be, if they have an admission and they're not able to make it and it's an in-person program, they can defer to the next available intake. There are no charges for that, and will be more than willing to help the student to defer without any charges, and with just an email from ACC or the student that they'll not be able to get a visa in time, and they think the best time for them for any reason to come to Canada would only be in January and not September 2021. We will definitely accommodate that. There's no charge for it. And we'll be more than welcoming student to join the program in the next available intake. In fact, a lot of programs have started. We're starting in January 22, which were not there earlier, because we could accommodate these students from September to Jan, and the student does not miss out on much time. So let's say some programs were just happening in September. We've opened a lot of programs from September into Jan as well, so that the easy transition happens and they can move on to the next available intake, which is January 22.
That's a great initiative actually, and it's really the need of the hour to support all the students in every possible manner.
Yes, it's a little bit more burden on the college end, but the student comes first, and success matters for us and also for the students. So we're trying to make sure as much as we can accommodate student requests. And if you've already paid and you're a student from September and you don't think you'll be able to make it to September, we can definitely defer you to January without any charges, and 99.99% if you've met the timelines, you'll definitely be deferred to the next available intake.
Thank you so much. Thanks a lot. And again, my next question to you only is that we all know that the students who have already applied are desperate to flying down to Canada and to be on shore and to start their programs. But as a parent or as a family of the student, parents are quite skeptical about what is going to happen. Is it really safe to travel, or is it really safe to proceed as they had already decided about their plans for Canadian education? So what is your take on this? Should they postpone their plans, or should they go ahead as they had already planned about it?
So I'll divide them into two categories: students remote and students who have to be there in person to start the classes. My colleagues have already mentioned that the colleges and institutes or universities are doing their best to accommodate them. My recommendation would be, if you're starting remote, you start in September, and if you have to be there in Canada, start the program. There is not much we can do about it. You will have to be there to start the program. We don't want you to miss on the labs and everything. And my colleagues rightly mentioned that Canada is in a much better condition and a much better state as compared to India right now, because they're also planning to get everybody vaccinated by August or September. And most likely, I don't know if you can quote me on this or not, most likely they're looking to open schools for people there in Canada by September. So this looks pretty positive unless the world comes crashing down. So looking at all of this, I don't think there's a need to worry. There is quarantine facility available. It's separate room for students. They're getting their test from here. They're getting to Canada, getting the test done. When they're leaving the quarantine facility after 11 or 14 days, they're again doing the quarantine test. So I think a lot of measures have already been taken to make sure the students and everybody is safe. We already have a lot of students who've flown to Canada during these times, have completed the quarantine, and are now doing their classes either remotely or in person. So if you think that you've got to be afraid about something, no, I don't say that you've got to be afraid about it. Yes, the student needs to be cautious, needs to follow the guidelines. The quarantine facility needs to stay there, don't need to step out. Everything that you want to eat and you want to order is available online and can be delivered to your doorstep. So I don't think it's something that you should be worrying about. The only thing is you need to be more positive about it and make sure you do follow the guidelines and the restrictions.
Absolutely. You are saying, you have phrased it in a very right manner, that students need to follow all the guidelines, and situation there in Canada is way better than India. And if they follow all the rules, they need not to scare about it.
Yes, so just one more thing I'd like to add. So if you look here, that the cases were really bad about 3 weeks or a month ago in India as well. But the moment we started to stay at our homes and not stepping outside much, you see the rate is coming down, and there are not many cases that are reported. So currently, other than the vaccine that's already there in the picture, another step that we've taken is to hold ourselves and hold on to our wishes to jump out of the houses and meet people so easily. And I think that's working. And so because we're following the guidelines, what the government has set for us. And I think it's the best thing to do right now, just to be safe and make sure it's safe for everyone around as well.
Thank you, Zishan. Thanks a lot. So,
All right.
if
So
you
just
go to
moving
next
on to the
question.
next question. Yeah. Thank you, Kanchan. So just moving on to the next question, and I think this is, a very relatable, and I think one of the biggest challenges for students who are currently pursuing their year 12, or probably the students who are awaiting their, the final results of from their bachelor degree, or the students who haven't yet appeared for IELTS. So due to the restrictions and everything, the students, they're not able to appear for the examination. The results for a couple of institutions have already been delayed. IELTS is again, a challenge for some of the students. So what do you think? How the students should go ahead with this? Any flexibility in terms of these entry requirements, or if institutions can offer conditional offer letters by the time the students, get their final results and everything. So Garima, would you like to take this one before we move to
Sure.
others?
Lakehead is a student oriented institution, and the success lies with their success, our student success. So Lakehead has been very, very open and flexible in terms of accepting students, not only this time, but has always been very understanding of the fact. In fact, the recent change has been accepting students. One, obviously, we extend conditional offer letters based on the performance in their grade 10 and predicted scores in 12th. With respect to IELTS, again, Lakehead has been very, very flexible. Not only we require IELTS, but we also accept other English proficiency tests. So be it Duolingo, PTE, or TOEFL. Besides that, we also accept MOI as a standard of instruction. So if a student has studied from an English medium school, all they have to do is to get a letter duly signed by the school stating the last 3 years were taught in English. So going further with admission, applying at Lakehead, they really don't have to wait for their English proficiency test to be, to be in hand. For this year, knowing that there has been a lot of unforeseen, circumstances, grade 12 results, no clue about when would the final exams be held. So what Lakehead has decided is to give the unconditional letter on the basis of the predicted scores or the midterms. So they really don't have to have the final results in order to start the program at a degree level with us. Yeah. And also for the master students, what we have done, we started to accept, as a university, we certainly have some stringent entry requirements in terms of receiving the hard copies of the documents and other attested, academic requirements. For this year in particular, even the graduate admissions have agreed to accept online mark sheets, provided they are being sent directly by the institution. And that goes again for the undergraduate students also. So they really don't have to courier the documents to get an unconditional letter. All they have to do is to instruct their institution, their Indian institution, to mail it directly to the graduate admission. Yeah.
All right, I think that's a great initiative. Rohan, anything you would like to add on?
Yes, so just like, want to continue what Zishan said very rightly, that, the student has to be positive, but I would say they also need to be very, very planned, especially when they are applying for the conditional offer letter. So as rightly said by Garima, we also accept Duolingo because you can do it from home, you can do it online, because we understand that the IELTS is not happening because of the pandemic. But then student need to plan it properly, right? So one student which is stuck because of the 12th marks is a different student, wherein the other student which is stuck because of IELTS is a different student. Because with 12th, we don't give unconditional letter on the basis of predicted score. We would still say that you clear everything, because as in college, we only prefer student to apply under SDS. The only reason why I'm focusing on SDS is because of the success rate of the visa is approx 95%. So that when the student wants to join the program online, they are already very confident because they have applied under the SDS category. So again, for the admission right now, they can use the Duolingo test and get the unconditional offer letter. But by the time they file their visa, I always recommend the student to make sure to take IELTS so that they can do it under the SDS category. And then predicted score, yes, they can apply on the basis of predicted score and get the conditional offer letter, especially even the mark sheet, because we understand due to pandemic, the college registrar offices in India are also not very quick. So they can apply for conditional offer letter, but then again, I think they can discuss this with the AECC expert, because I'm sure your team is already had a good experience in handling about the conditional offer, so they can make the student plan so that when they're applying or when they're choosing a program online, they are taking a calculated risk, and the student is also very sure about the visa and also sure about the admission.
I'd just like to add one thing here on behalf of Lakehead University. Universities have different set of requirements when it comes to visa and even admissions also. So not only with Lakehead, but with other institutions also, we are kind of working very closely with the government, Government of Canada, as well as Government of India, to help our students get through the visa process seamlessly. So, so that is why we've taken an onus of giving unconditional letter to our students on the basis of the predicted scores. Yeah, thank you.
Anything you would like to add on, Zishan, to what Garima and Rohan just stated?
I think they've covered most of it. And Durham is also accepting Duolingo and PTE. The other thing I'd like to add is we don't issue conditional offer letters, but we've opened our intakes for January 22, May 22, and soon we're going to open it for September 22 as well. So January is just around the corner, so not much away. So if you're not really prepared and not really good and going for September, you can always apply to January, even today. Most of our programs are open for January, and kinds of brings more confidence in you, since you know all of your documents are complete, and now you have a final offer letter, and all you're looking forward to is a visa application, and the college is allowing you to start online for September with just a visa application proof. You don't need to be having a passport letter request or passport request or something. As long as you've applied for a study visa for you to study in Canada, we'll allow you to start your classes for September. You don't have your grade 12 finally. January is just around the corner. It's not much time. It's just another 3 months post-September. You can apply to January now and also get an offer letter once you get the final semester mark sheet. I think so. Collectively, all of us as institutes are trying our best to make sure we can accommodate students as much as we can.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that, everyone. Kanchan, would you like to take the questions further?
Yeah, of course. Thank you, Sonu. So I think since we are into this situation since last 1 year, Canadian government has made positive declarations from time to time to create, to actually generate that hope in everybody, be it students or be it their families, where they try to support in different ways. And they have made changes. The most recent changes was about that particular declaration, submitting the visa files before 15th of May. And then they said that they are going to give results by 6th of August. So if you would like to add more on this, that what has been the recent updates by IRCC, by which the international students are supported, that will be a great insight for our students on this panel today. So Garima, if you could like to explain about it more.
So in terms of the recent guidelines, I think it has been again everywhere, in the media. It's been very clearly published. The students who are actually submitting, they probably would have submitted their application before 15th of May, would essentially get the response before 6th of August. But that doesn't mean the students cannot even apply, after the deadline also. We continue to see students applying, and IRCC, the government is kind of working very closely to ensure the success for their students. Any specific thing if you would like me to touch base here, because when we talk about the IRCC, we have an in-person visa support at Lakehead, helping our students to kind of not only applying for the visa from their home country, but even after for the stay back option, as well as other visa support services too.
I think if you could explain about the changes in the postgraduate work permit rights, which they introduced to support students? That would be again a good insight.
Sure. So this was published back in February 21, as I as I stated earlier also that the government of Canada has been very open and supportive to international students. So the recent change, which was done back in February, is supporting students to apply for the postgraduate work permit also, even if they have done a part of, or maybe 50% of their education has been done in their home country, they would still be allowed to apply and would be counting towards a future postgraduate work permit. So students who are studying remotely in their home country, they really don't have to be worried about it. The government is certainly looking to support those individuals.
Thanks, Garima. Zishan, would you like to add on something here?
I think Garima has covered most of it. And yeah, the postgraduate work permit does not get affected. You have time till 31st December 2021 to complete your studies online. And you'll still be eligible for the same amount of work permit that you were eligible for when had you been doing the classes in person. So I think that's a great initiative. And this has been an extension. Earlier, it was only till I think April 21. And now it's moved on to 31st December. If things improve, then people will start to fly. If not, then I'm sure IRCC is already looking into it, and they will make sure that they accommodate the students the best possible manner. So also, I remember that they did extend the postgraduate work permit for a lot of students because of the pandemic that happened. I think so. That's a lot of support that's coming from the government itself, and they've also supported students financially during those COVID times. So I think it's a positive approach that the government is taking. The students don't need to be worried about it. They're explaining everything on their website. And of course, we're going through that. We have our own meetings and we discuss with them, and we always get back to you guys and give you the updates. So I think, yeah, the PGWP remains the same with no effect on it. And I'm sure further also, it does not affect anything. But I'm sure if anything changes, the IRCC will definitely update it.
Thank you, Zishan. Of course, the Canadian government is taking quite a positive approach to support international students. Of course, it is not valid for the student. This information is not valid for the students who are here on this session. But just to inform you all that the students who are already onshore, they have made another further announcement to give 1.5 years of further extension to the work permit. So that is again a very positive indication that they're really taking care of the students who are there in Canada. So going going further to the next question, I would ask this to Rohan. That Rohan, do you have any insight, or if you could guide, what do you foresee in terms of the travel restrictions for the South Asian students? What do you foresee? Like, when are they going to uplift these restrictions?
So right now, the travel restriction is only in Pakistan and India. It is not banned from the other South Asian market. So people and students are traveling, but I always recommend the student to make sure to check the IRCC update because it could be a new announcement that is in process, and make sure that you are in touch with the college quarantine team, because we make sure that the student have the quarantine plan in hand, student have the student support letter, so that when they are at immigration, they are very confident because everything is in place and everything is planned. Just like, Zishan very rightly said that, the Canada plan to get everyone vaccinated by August and September. So everything is happening in a very planned manner. And being Canada is a student-centric country, they are very welcoming. They are, changing things according to the student so that student get the maximum benefit. And they really value the student contribution, that even after the pandemic, because this is our second year of the pandemic. So now the colleges are well prepared. The government is well prepared due to less population in Canada. They all have already planned the vaccination to be done by August and September. So it's a very positive thing which is happening. And because last week also, even there is a travel ban in India, but students were able to, reach Canada via Dubai, Sri Lanka, Ethiopia. So student fly to another country. I don't recommend this to the student, but as you said, it's a travel update. So student fly to the another country, finish their quarantine, take a negative report, and then they fly to Canada. But they again do their full quarantine, which is there from the government of Canada and the college. So it is all about the extra expenses, So I will always recommend the student to do their first semester here, and once everything is in place, you can definitely try normally directly from India to Canada.
Right.
Yes, Rohan, you are absolutely
that's
right. Yeah, because safety is the primary. Safety should be the primary focus. So it is very important that first of all they should keep themselves safe and then plan ahead.
Yeah, and that's why I see even the documentation we make sure, because our services are powered by Maple Assist. So student have another specific department taking care of the quarantine facility, updating them, giving them the commitment letter. So everything they also know about the student, and student is also very sure before they actually go to Canada. So before taking the flight, they have all the documentation in place. So the best way is to follow the guidelines by the college and by the government, and always check the IRCC update before traveling.
Thanks, Rohan, for that. Thank you.
So I think the support, which has been provided by the Canadian government and along with, all the institutions, it's been commendable. They have been supporting international students throughout in each and every aspect. So I think before moving on to the next question, we have already spoken about it a bit earlier. So just wanted to understand about the COVID-19 preparedness plan for the institutions. Primarily, we can start with Durham and then we can move to other institutions. So talking a bit about the COVID-19 preparedness plan for these upcoming.
So like I said, your program delivery method is definitely a part of the COVID preparedness plan. And to support the students and make sure they get there safe and are able to attend the classes in person or remotely, there are facilities provided that they're picked up from the airport. There's a greeter at the airport, they're picked up, they're taken to the quarantine facility. Discounted rates of quarantine facility, like almost at 50% of the actual cost. And we're all approved DLIs. So making sure that the least amount of students in the class doing practicals, least amount of students on campus, and making sure that there's social distancing, which is followed, food delivered to the doorstep, helping them find a temporary accommodation post the quarantine facility or a permanent accommodation outside the campus, on campus. And we also have a student services team, which not only helps them with the questions that they have in regards to the postgraduate work permit or visa, but also anything they would want to know. And we do those sessions twice a week. So that's how we're looking forward to interact with the student and support the student. You can find the details on our website of when to attend these sessions, and they're called International Ask Us Anything in regards to your travel, in regards to your visa, what documents you would need to apply for a study permit to get to Canada or a study visa. So yeah, so all of this is already there. And I'm sure my colleagues can also add more to it regarding the preparedness. Over to Garima and Rohan.
Sure. Thank you, Zishan. With respect to Lakehead, and in fact, I think that's common for every other institution, is that the quarantine must be, in and around the campus. So they can't quarantine, let's say, in X city and then traveling to, let's say, Aurelia or let's say to Thunder Bay. So they must have these quarantine arrangements either within the campus or outside the campus. Lakehead also has an excellent arrangement for the students. We also extend free airport pickup to students coming at Thunder Bay campus. Again, everything is on a discounted rate. If somebody is looking to stay on campus in terms of after the quarantine, whatever the amount they would pay during the quarantine time would get adjusted automatically to their full-time accommodation. Food again has been served, serving them at the at the doorstep, and it is absolutely at a very economical rate. Besides that, the entire Lakehead team is available online. So we have a link which goes as COVID-19 update resources. The students would get to see anything and everything they want to know about their academic, about how should they, start their travel, about the classes, residences, safety and everything. So that one link will help them understand how Lakehead is been helping and preparing their students as well as, the institution for future intakes.
So just like to add, very rightly said, because the college is taking the student responsibility as their own responsibility, especially at the quarantine. And that's why the separate team has been built, because last year it was a different situation, but now the colleges, the government, everything has already planned accordingly to the second wave, and it could be another wave, but everything is being very planned. And there is specific teams, especially for quarantine and airport services. Like I told you already, we are powered by Maple Assist, so student can access to the Georgian Assist app and they can book in their quarantine option. They have quarantine option, their travel letter, their commitment form. So everything is very well available, and we have a specific team which will be assisting the student throughout. Plus, Georgian College keep conducting their Instagram live session by My Canada team, so that they can talk more about it, because sometimes the students are not very confident. They might be thinking that I might be feel more good if I go to my relative house rather than I go to a quarantine. So we are there every week live on Instagram to answer all the questions on quarantine and the COVID plan. So the students are more confident and they are more clear, and they can also see some reviews of student. There is one student who made a blog on quarantine. He was so happy with the service that, that he made other students feel very close, that, this is how actually it happens. And it is much easier to do a quarantine with the college facility rather than thinking and doing in a room wherein you yourself is not sure. It's a new country for you and you have to depend on the third person. So everything is very well planned by all the colleges and the university, and we are hoping that we'll also welcome, once the pandemic is over, to all the students in person. Let's hope for the best, especially for September and the January.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that, Rohan and Zishan. So before moving forward, I can see a lot of questions in the question and answer section from the students, which are related to the offer letters. So students, I would recommend, please get in touch with your respective counselors. They can, help you in a better way in, helping you out with the status of your offer letters and other things. Before moving on, we have published another set of poll questions. So I would recommend all the students to answer poll questions. And the best way to track your offer letter is please get in touch with your respective counselors, and they'll be more than happy to assist you with the offer letter status. So just, wanted to add on one thing. We all understand, the institutions, everybody, we, as an organization, we are also working remotely. So the institutions also have a limited resources. The turnaround time of applications may increase, depending on certain other things as well. So please be in touch with your respective counselors. They'll assist you with an update on your offer letter. And in case if you're stuck with anything for a long time, please feel free to reach out to us, and we'll be there to assist you. So Kanchan, would you like to move forward with the questions?
Yes, sure, Sonu. Thank you. Basically, whenever anybody, be it a student or their families, whenever they plan for higher education, and especially outside India or maybe abroad, they definitely look for the return of investment. And here also, I can see a lot of questions regarding the career opportunities related to different subjects, and I could see many questions students are asking about career opportunities related to environmental sciences and also the brand management. So Zishan, if you could highlight what are the careers and the programs which are going to be in demand, especially in Canada, and how students are going to look for further career opportunities related to the careers in demand. So if you could highlight about that, please.
Right. Thank you for that question. That's my favorite. I'd like to answer it this way. So any skill that we're talking about is important and critical. I would not say that one program would hold an edge over the other program. What I'll say is these are all skills. I'm talking in specific to colleges. All the programs, like 140 plus programs that we do or any other college would do, are more specific to skill. So, and I am sure none of us can point out a skill that needs to be eradicated, and all of these are important and critical programs. But if you're asking me about what are a few graduate certificates or undergraduate programs that may be popular among students, so that would also depend on what your geographical location or which country are you coming from and what you're looking at. I can name a few definitely, like something in business IT and management, for example, data analytics, artificial intelligence, project management, international business, human resources, high graduation employment rate, one of the topmost jobs in the field of science, engineering, technology, healthcare and management, nursing, paralegal, law, justice, emergency, a lot of into designing as well. Also depends on what is the location of your college and where you're located and what sort of an area you are. So let's say, for example, we are Durham College. We're in the Greater Toronto area, which is like about 45 minutes away from downtown Toronto. So that's the technology hub for Canada, and does a lot in automobiles. So technology, business, IT, management, all of these programs are very popular programs in the region we are. One of the three largest metropolitan areas is the GTA or Toronto. And you'll find jobs for every skill in the region where we are. So saying that 140 programs that we do, all of them are critical and important to the society, whether it's social services worker, it's health and community, or science, engineering, technology. What's your interest? What do you see yourself doing after a certain period of time, after having attained the knowledge and the skills of the program, is what you need to decide. So I can't say that a civil engineer would be better than a mechanical engineer, or an IT engineer would be better than a management guy. So this is something that you like to do. If that's your passion, go for it. And there's scope for everything in Canada, because they work very closely on all of these skills. And that's the forte of any college, that we prepare you with skill-based learning, and such that you're job ready, and all of these programs are market driven. So whatever you like to do and whatever you want to see yourself doing in a couple of years, is that what you should go ahead with. I have already mentioned a few programs. If that's what your interest is, definitely go for them. But that's my take on this.
That's an interesting viewpoint, and thank you so much for that. Rohan, if you could add on something about it, because you have some exciting programs with your college, like brand management, even data analytics also, and you have exciting programs related to pharmacy also. So because I see a lot of questions here related to these fields, environmental sciences, if you could add on something here.
Sure. As rightly said by Zishan, so the main motto of the community college is to make sure that the student are skill set ready. So you are always good at academics, you've always been good, and you have gone to Canada. But what we make sure is to give you a right skill set, which will make you more employable. I represent Georgian College, which is the #1 co-op college of Ontario. So our most of the program have a co-op, especially at the diploma, at the advanced diploma level. So how exactly co-op work is a little different from the internship and the field placement, because 99% of the time, the co-op is a paid option for the student. And from the day one, the student is assigned as a co-op mentor, which helps the student for the personality development, for the discussion, for the cover letter, for the job portal. Because with Georgian, we have 6,500 employers, which are our panel, which helps students for internship, co-op, and even after the graduation, the main placement. Also, the main aspect of the co-op program is to give the practical exposure. So if you are in a non-co-op program, you might be having something else which will make sure that you are exposed towards the practicality of your program. And as you said, some program, like we have 130 program, like you told, so we recently introduced Mechatronics, looking at the demand. We recently introduced artificial intelligence, which is really booming in the world. Big data analytics has always been one of the highest taken program, but we have changed and introduced few new programs according to because AI is the future of the world, right? So information security system, mobile application development, project management, civil engineering, architecture, environmental technician, electrical, mechanical precision. So all the skill-based program, also we have power engineering technology. When you go for a health side, we are one of the highest recruiters for nursing, not just for the bachelor, but also for the educated nurses at the postgraduate level. Then yes, we also have paralegal for lawyers. And then you can always look at our business department, wherein we have close to 100% placement rate, starting at the business diploma, advanced diploma, and as well as the graduate certificate. And most of our business program are the co-op option program, wherein the student is exposed to a practical exposure, a paid job, wherein a student is able to earn $6,000 to $8,000 minimum in a single co-op term. So there can be 2 co-op or there can be 3 co-op in your program, depending on to the choice. But the main factor what Zishan covered, choose a program that you really want to do. not what is booming in Canada, because I'm sure you will not be able to do really good in a program which is booming, which you are not interested in. So that is, I think, the biggest takeaway, to discuss with your AECC expert that these are my 5 options, and you should know 10 points for each of the program, and then sit with them and decide your best program that you wish to apply.
Yeah, you are absolutely right. Thank you so much. Thanks for this wonderful information. So Sonu, I think we need to go to the next question.
Yes, so before moving on to the next question, we have again put up a next set of polls. So student, please feel free to give us your suggestions. So please answer the polls which are being now published on your screen. So I'll allow us a minute to students to answer these polls before we move further for this session. By the time students, you can keep.
Would like to add one thing for the program requirement. I'm sure the AECC experts already have detail for all the participating college and university. So specifically nursing, pharmacy, occupational therapist. If you're looking for something, please connect with the AECC team, because they are already updated with the open and closed program and all the requirements.
Thank you for adding on that, Rohan. So, Garima, just a slight question. We get a lot of questions related to part-time job opportunities, specifically from international students. So, would you like to throw some lights on the availability of part-time job opportunities for international students?
Well, with respect to part-time opportunities, I think, again, this is common for all institution students all across the country. Well, the students work in a variety of space. They could work on and off campus. With respect to part-time international students, while they're studying, while they're in their class, could work for 20 hours a week. And they could work for 40 hours when they are during their vacation, semester break time. It is not restricted to what sort of work they do, but it should be fulfilling the guidelines stated by the IRCC. So as long as they are meeting up those requirements, they could work in their own space, either on and off campus. So as an institution, as Lakehead University, we certainly help students with these options on campus. They could either work at the international office, library services, or with student union as well. Part-time job outside the campus is primarily working in departmental stores or petrol pump. It certainly depends upon depends from student to student. So there is no one category to assign. I think it's primarily very individual how and where they would like to work. Yeah.
Right. I think that covered almost all what is related to the part-time job opportunities. So what sort of advice? I think that's a pretty general question. I think Kanchan would also like to take this question further. So what is the ideal advice for international students, who are planning to travel at this point of time? So what do you think? What should be their plan of action?
So do you want me to start?
Sure, Rohan. Yes.
Yeah. So I think just as previously we told that, the student need to plan that whether they are planning for in-person program or for a remote program, and they need to plan their finances, that whether they are ready with the fees, because I'm sure with the pandemic, the loans are also taking a little higher time than usual. So if they are well planned, I think whether they are targeting September or January, they are very confident. And even if they are planning to travel to Canada, everything is in a planned manner, again, it is the right choice, because everything is happening according to the plan. So the most important factor will be the planning, and be updated with the updates of IRCC and especially the institute. Because, for example, the last week when there was a travel ban, even the colleges was not aware that there will be a travel ban. So suddenly, and we had some in-person program wherein the student was planning to travel. So apart from that, the other, especially for remote programs, student can plan on time. And as rightly said by Zishan, otherwise, if you're not very confident, you always have an option which is open your January or a May intake that you can apply.
Absolutely
I would,
correct.
I guess I would rephrase this question for Zishan and Garima both, that we all know that Canada is quite a multicultural country and people are very, very friendly and welcoming. But whenever anybody is planning for Canada as a study destination, we know that, okay, the current situation is different. There are a lot of constraints these days. But other than that, whenever anybody is planning for Canada as a study destination, as Rohan suggested, that they should be planning, but what exactly they should be prepared for in terms of like the cultural changes, the changes in the education system and all, what exactly they should be prepared for. So what would be your advice to students who are looking for Canada as their study destination? So I think we can start with Garima.
Sure. Thank you, Kanchan. Well, moving to a foreign country to continue, their education can introduce certainly some changes and challenges that I think student needs to be well prepared of, right? In terms of opportunities, of course, Canada is one of the most popular countries for higher education in the world, and even the return on investment for that matter. But there's a difference between when they're applying to a university and to a college. So if they're applying to a university like Lakehead, they certainly need to be in contact with AECC to know about the program which are open for different intakes. Besides that, program categorizes between undergraduate as well as master's program. So they need to have a minimum entry requirements to meet up, each course requirements. So that is one. Two, I think it's spoken about applying for conditional spots, even if their education is in progress. So that is referring to both bachelor's and master's students. If they are in their final year of their graduation or in their final, in their grade 12, could still apply for a conditional spot. Two, English proficiency test certainly is not required when they're applying to Lakehead. As long as they have an English support letter from their institution, they are good to go. But what is more important is to have a positive approach. And yes, they should be, they should be mentally prepared to kind of take up this challenge. And studying an international doorstep is inviting. It's like a Pandora box, right? So every time you kind of come across a new opportunity, and also it's going to be a lifetime change in their career as well as in the personality. So they need to get going, be in regular contact with the consultants, because consultants like yourself who are fully updated about the system and the process, and should kind of get on with their process as early as possible. But yes, there are certain deadlines to follow for different level of courses. So keep referring to the consultant like yourself or to a website to have that information. Yeah.
Thanks, Garima. Thank you for your input. So now I'll go to Zishan for the same question.
Yeah, I think they've covered most of it. They need to be ready with their documents. The first thing is they've got to be positive, not the COVID positive, but positive amongst the. I think I know it's an irony. Being positive is the most negative thing right now, but that's in regards to COVID-19. But they got to be positive. They have to be confident. It's a different country. There's a lot of support. There's a lot of social acceptance whenever you're going to Canada. And I'll share an example. So you could see a 70-year-old man holding on the door for you to cross, and which I know it happens in our country as well, but in Canada you will see this more often. So there's a lot of respect for people around, and irrespective of what age category or what region they come from or what country they come from. So that acceptance has a need to start building within yourself first. And once you get there, the one thing that you need to make sure is you've got to be confident. You don't have to give up on things. Life is never a bed of roses. And I'm sure everybody does face some challenges at some point in time. It's just that we are the ones who will overcome those challenges and make ourselves as a success, make a successful career for ourselves, or succeed further in our career or our lives. So I think that's the key. And just be prepared, be planned, get your documents in place, speak to your consultant, speak to AECC, seek guidance, speak to your college representatives if you have an issue, attend these sessions like this, and be more prepared when you're looking to travel. And the rest, some of it can also be left to God, because everything is left to God, And And yeah, that's the best that I can say for the preparedness for them to go to Canada and study and make a career for themselves.
Yeah, thank you, Zishan. You very rightly said about it. And actually, I could see a lot of questions in regards to the delays in offer letter, especially from Georgian and Durham. So I would suggest all the students that you be in touch with your counselor, and we will help you to get those offer letters early. And also, we could help you to connect with the Zishan and Rohan individually also to help you out with your queries. So other than that, I think most of the students are asking about what do you foresee in terms of when are they going to work on their visa applications? When are they going to start working on it? So do you have any input regarding these kind of queries, that what do you foresee in terms of visa applications working upon by IRCC? So do you have any info about it? So Rohan, I'll ask you about it.
I think the last update from IRCC was for the 15th, which we already covered, that if you apply by 15th, you will get the result by 6th of August. But again, the update itself says that you, to get an early decision, apply by 15, but you can still apply for September intake. So because we are getting, the only reason of delaying in offer letter is the huge application and the limited resources. So we have a lot of application in process. Average processing time has gone to 4 to 6 weeks. So that is the holdback time for the student, that you should hold till 6 weeks before you think the offer letter will come from Georgian. But then this is the main update that we know about. And then the medical student, if they have done the IELTS, they can go for medicals at least. And then biometric is closed as of now. So we are still waiting for the new update from the IRCC. So that the college can also prepare and the student can prepare accordingly.
Thanks, Rohan. Thanks. So Sonu, if we have any further questions to ask, if you could find any common questions which
I
would be
think
relevant
we
for
have
today's
covered
session.
almost all. Yes, I think we should quickly move to the questions from the students. There might be, few common questions which have been asked among the students, though the team has, simultaneously responded to the questions. But I would like to just see if there are any common questions which are being asked among the students. But before that, students, we have another set of polls which is being published on your screens now. So it would be great if you could just answer those polls as well before we take the questions further.
I'd like to add a bit in regards to the offer letters that the students have a question about. At Durham, when you're making an application to Durham, you usually get a reference number, which is a 5-digit number. And you get an email stating it'll take about 15 to 20 working days for a student ID to be generated. That's the window period where nobody can work on your application unless a student ID is generated. But we're making sure once the student ID is generated, we're releasing the offers in the next 2 weeks anyhow. So what the student needs to do is once they get the student ID, which will be a 9-digit number, they need to get in touch with ACC, and your respective counselors or your or managers can definitely get in touch with us. We can try our best to process them early. But yes, like Rohan said, due to a heavy volume of not only applications, but emails and a lot of inquiries, things are getting delayed. We're not increasing staff. We're still the same amount of people, but the work has increased by 4-fold, I'd say. And we're still trying to manage it. Probably a lot of us may be working about 14 or 15 hours every day. And it may be true for Lakehead, for Georgian, for ACC, and definitely for us. It is taking time, but I don't think more than 4 to 5 weeks it should take for the offer letter. The more we're near to the intake, the faster will be the processing, I'm sure, because there will less amount of applications left and less amount of queries that are coming in. But just want to assure all of you that every one of us is trying our level best to make sure that we get you your offer letter or are able to answer your queries or concerns.
I think one more thing I would like to add here, because students really think that, we keep coming on a lot of live session and still we keep saying no, that we won't be able to give the letter. So I think because see, as a community college, we are very well planned and we have a limited number of seats. And the only reason of delay in offer letter, because for example, if two people have applied, so they already have got the offer letter, so they have a deadline to pay the deposit. So unless and until their deadline is not passed, we are not issuing the another set of offer letter for the same program, because it could be a possibility that they pay and the seats are full. Because we need to make sure that the enrollment planning is done properly, that you already have an offer letter, you paid and you don't get the seat. So we are making sure that we are working very closely, especially at this pandemic time, that this seat allocation, the enrollment planning is done in such a way that all the students, if they already have an offer or already paid, will have a seat in the college. So that is the only reason we take time. We really apologize on that, but it is for your good only, so that once you have the offer letter, you are already sure that you have a time to secure your seat in the college.
Yes, of course, the times are really challenging for everybody, and students are also not wrong on their part, because they are also very eager to get their offer letters so that they can plan ahead about in terms of financials and doing other formalities. But of course, we'll all have to work on a certain pace, and we'll have to wait for the things to happen. So students, as Rohan and Zishan has explained about the delay in the offer letters and all, but in spite of that, if you have any further query about your offer letters or about your applications, you can be in touch with us, and we can definitely help you out with your resolving your queries about it. So Sonu, can we have some questions, some common questions from students?
What I can see here, Kanchan, is we have covered almost, the questions, and I can see a similar set of questions from the students as well in the question and answer tab. Apart from that, there are few, general questions which the team has already answered throughout the session. They have been very active in answering all the student queries, and students, as we said, we are working currently, so we are working remotely as of now. So you can meet our expert counselors using the virtual counseling. So we have introduced the virtual counseling as well. That link is already there. We have posted that link a couple of times, and if I can request someone from my team, if they can post in the virtual counseling list, the link for all the attendees out there, so they can join in the virtual counseling with one of our experts. Yeah, so someone from the team will definitely add on the virtual counseling link in the chat box as well, so students can actually copy the link from there and can move ahead. And I think all the questions, Kanchan, are very similar to what we have already taken.
Okay, because there are few questions regarding delays in visa applications and submitting visa applications without medicals and biometric letter and all. So for that, I would say that neither the panelists here or nor us can do much about it, because we'll have to wait for the VFS to open and the medicals to start it again to complete our visa files. So let's hope and pray that things get better soon, so that everything gets back on track as soon as possible. So other than that, I think we have covered everything, and I think we can wind up this session. And before that, I would like to say thank you to each one of you for supporting us on this panel discussion and giving your valuable time to us in spite of your very, very busy schedules dealing with all the applications and other workloads. Thank you so much. Thanks, Garima. Thanks, Rohan. Thanks, Zishan.
Thank you so
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure interacting with my fellow colleagues and yourself. I hope the students are much more comfortable and relieved. But as we always say, that they are always, a call and a message away. The entire community, it's not about Lakit, but everybody's actually, actively working virtually. So feel free to reach out to AECC or to institutions for your query. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much,
everyone. And
Thank you very
to our
much.
colleagues also.
Take care, stay safe, everyone.
Everybody stay safe, and thank you and bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ishan. Thank you, Rohan. Thank you, students. Thank you for joining in.